Good evening. Thank you all for joining us for our fifth Mountain View Fire Community Workshop. As a quick reminder, these workshops are broadcast here on Zoom as well as on Facebook Live. You can answer or type in questions at either portal. You can, if you're on Zoom, there is a Q&A down at the bottom of the screen. We ask that you hold questions until the end of the presentations, as we might address some of those questions as we go through. You can also type your question into the comments section of the Facebook post, and we will monitor those questions as well. As a reminder, we do have a web portal dedicated to the incident recovery, and I will put that link in the chat. And so we encourage you to visit that web portal for more information as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mono County Supervisor John Peters.
Hi, and welcome everybody to our fifth Mountain View Fire Workshop. As we all have had quite the experience this last week, the effort to recover from the fire and the coordinated efforts of our EOC, Fire EOC, the state, and other agencies continues. Tonight, we're going to have presentations. The incident update is obviously going to be done by our EOC director, Justin Nalder. But we're also having presentations from the SBA, the Small Business Association. Cynthia Cowell will give a presentation about SBA loan programs and where that stands. And Cal OES will give an update on where we're at in the debris removal and the different stages of what to expect coming up. Obviously, none of us anticipated that we would have feet of snow in the valley come February 1st, but we do. So I'm sure that will be addressed in regards to the fire recovery. So Dina Wilson and Nicole Benson are on to give some updates from Cal OES along with Robert Larson. And we, as usual, we have our regular team, Louis Molina, Mary Boer, and our CAO, Bob Lawton. So without any further ado, I will turn it back over to Justin to start the incident update, and Justin Nalder, and not to be confused with Justin Caparuso, who coordinates all this from an IT perspective, and also led off the intro of the tonight's community workshop. So we'll try to take as many questions, address as many concerns as we can after the presentations. So EOC Director Nalder, take it away.
Thank you, Supervisor Peters. So here we are, Emergency Operations Center recovery effort, Mountain View Fire. When we originally put together the Emergency Operations Center, we came up with 3 stages, which kind of gave us a game plan internally as far as what are the parameters and responsibilities that the EOC is going to attempt to tackle in restoring everyday life for the residents of Walker. At this moment, we're in stage 2 of our 3 stages that we've identified, and not necessarily to be confused with phase 2 remediation, which is part of one of the lines of effort. Right now, we're pretty well focused on our community support branch, looking at continued housing assistance for those families who are without. A lot of these individuals are ones who may have had the immediate sheltering through Red Cross and potentially extended sheltering. We continue to work from the information that was provided through the needs assessment surveys, in addition to information that we're gathering on the ground or through friends and family. Along the community support lines, we do have the potential of providing trailers. We're working with the city of LA to see if this is actually something that's going to be feasible for the county to take on. And so there's some finer details that we're working through as far as the MOU. Into our environmental health line, right now, as I mentioned, we're in phase 2 remediation. Phase 1 has already been completed. That's the hazardous waste sweep. And phase 2 in addition to some on-the-ground assessments and soil surveys, is a general burn debris cleanup. Now, most of you have had an opportunity to review the right of entry forms, the ROE forms, and turn those in. We thank you very much for that. We had a fantastic response. There's a couple of them that are still out there. And if you know of somebody who has questions, we might be able to address some of those questions here tonight, or we can put you in touch with the right people to get you the information you need so that you'd feel comfortable signing off on the ROE and working with the county and the state to get your properties cleaned up. We're also pushing forward with our finance section and assessing how much and what is the estimated damages, how are we going to recover these, what type of assistance exists, what avenues do we have. So all those put together, working pretty hard. The obvious factor of the day is the snow. So with several feet of snow, you can't go out and do site assessments and soil surveys. It just means that we're going to have a delay on phase 2 remediation. And your guess is as good as mine as how long that's going to take. I mean, Walker's a pretty sunny place. Typically, the snow melts off quickly. But if you've got 4 feet of packed stuff, that might take a few weeks before we have the opportunity to get back out there. With that, quick update, we have the donation center still running full bore, and we continue to look at their availability and willingness to continue to provide that service. And we're, we welcome their efforts because I think it's providing a great service to the community. The Emergency Operations Center continuing to operate out of the Senior Center building, although with road closures, there's going to be minimal staffing at this point until 395 opens again. I will turn it back over. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Okay, well, let's move right into our next presentation, Ms. Cowell with the SBA.
Good evening, everyone. I apologize, my video keeps going in and out, and so I hope I can stay on for a while this time. So far to date, SBA has approved $336,500 in disaster loans. Those are all for home loans, but we are still pretty much in early days. What we have to offer is assistance to homeowners, renters, businesses of all sizes, and private nonprofits that may have had damages because of the fire. You can apply online at sba.gov/disaster and just follow the icons. These are different applications than the COVID-19 applications, and they are processed completely separately from the COVID applications. We may be requesting further information from you, and we will let you know if there's anything we need. In order to submit a complete application, we will need your application and your 4506T, which is an IRS form that allows us to get transcripts of your taxes. For homeowners, we can lend up to $200,000 to make repairs to your primary residence. For homeowners and renters, we can lend up to $40,000 to replace personal property, and that would be anything you would take with you when you moved. For businesses, we can lend up to $2 million, both for physical and economic losses caused directly by the fire. For the economic injury disaster loans, that could be that you had to close for a little while because everybody was evacuated. And so we can help you with working capital to keep you running until things pick up again. And with that, if there are any further questions at the end, I will be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And just if you could just elaborate a little bit, these are all loan programs, correct?
Yes, they are loan programs. And what happens with homeowners and renters is they will be referred by FEMA to SBA. It's very important that if you are referred by FEMA, that you go ahead and submit your application. But as I recall, this fire is not one that FEMA is participating in. So yes,
Correct.
these are loan programs. We can make terms of up to 20 years or 30 years, excuse me. And so we would be happy to speak to anyone. You can call us at SBA at 800-659-2955. And we have people that are willing to help you with your application if you need help with it. If you want a paper application, I know a lot of people don't have access to a computer at this point. They may have lost it in the fire, or they just don't trust computers, which that's understandable these days. We'll send a paper application to you and walk you through it step by step if you need that sort of help.
Great. Thank you very much. So I don't see any questions right now in the chat or the Q&A, but if you're willing to stay on, and this goes for 1 hour, we will be definitely finished by 6 p.m. And the next presentation is going to be from Cal OES. I believe Dina will take the lead on this.
That's correct. Thank you, Supervisor. Hi, my name is Dina Wilson. I'm with Cal OES. I am working on the debris operations for Mono County, excuse me. And as Justin had pointed out earlier, we are dealing with a little bit of snow in the area. So that does hamper our debris operations moving forward. Just to give a basic background for the folks that are watching, is we are required to have a right of entry form, which was discussed previously, in order for us to access those properties. We will go through, once the snow has cleared, to do site assessments, asbestos abatements, then we'll do debris removal, soil sampling, and then we'll do final sign-offs to return the property back to the county, and then of course to the homeowner. Obviously, with the amount of snow that is currently on the ground, our operations has somewhat halted, but that does give us time to collect the right of entry forms from the residents, excuse me, and the county, in order for us to plot our schedule once the snow is sufficiently gone for us to begin operations. So it does add for a little bit of planning on our part, but we do encourage homeowners to submit right of entry forms as soon as possible, so that we are able to plot that out. So when the sun does break and we do have no snow cover, we are raring to go as soon as possible. That is the basics for debris removal. Again, because of our hampering up with the snow, we are paused a little bit, but we are keeping an eye on the area and watchful, so that the moment that we see some light of ground, so to speak, that we can have assessment teams out there as soon as possible to respond for the disaster survivors. And I do have a couple of my colleagues on the call with us. I will shift it over to Nicole Benson, who may talk about some additional programs that may be offered to the disaster survivors. Nicole?
Thank you, Dina. As Dina said, my name is Nicole Benson. I work with Cal OES Recovery Individual Assistance. I am a emergency services coordinator with that team. So for this event, for the Mountain View Fire, we don't at the moment have any Cal OES resources for those individuals who have been impacted. We have been primarily working directly with our federal partners over in the U.S. Small Business Administration to bring that assistance over to the Mono County community. I did just want to add a couple of clarifying points, just to add in a few additional details and reminders on the deadlines coming up. So if you are a homeowner, renter, business that has had any physical damage, just as a reminder, the upcoming deadline is in 1 month, so you have until March 1st to fill out that SBA application. Now, if you had economic damages, you do have a little bit more time. You have until September 30th for that application. So just to keep those deadlines in mind as you work out what resources are best suited for your situation. And as Cynthia was saying earlier, unfortunately for this event, we do not have a FEMA declaration for the Mountain View fire. So I know with so many other disaster events that have recently gone on, there is a little bit of confusion just because there is so many different resources out there. So if you are asked for a FEMA registration number, a FEMA referral, that is not applicable for this situation. I just want to make it super clear to just manage expectations here. But SBA is a great resource that I really would encourage you to consider. But I will be on the call through to the end if there's any additional questions.
Thanks, Nicole. I appreciate that. And next I have Robert Larson, who actually does public assistance for us, to add in any additional comments on the state side. Robbie?
Yes, thank you, Dina. So I'm Robert Larson. I'm with Public Assistance. So we do have a declared event there, CDA only, which is state-only event. Like Nicole said, there is no FEMA event here as of now for this event. What that means is, there is a cost share that the state will do, and that's a 75% cost share on, your facilities out there that were damaged. Obviously, we have all categories of work here. We have emergency work and we have permanent work that are all eligible for this event. So our state cost share would be 75%, and the locals there, you would be on the hook for the remainder 25%. Now, I do believe that there is a request in. I heard that there is a request in to have this funded fully at 100%. I have no response to that. I haven't got any replies on that yet, but I do know that that does exist. Now, we've done an applicant's briefing. Hopefully you guys all attended the applicant's briefing. We did that recently. And we also, the next step now would be for us to do our kickoff meeting with you. And somebody from our office, they will be contacting you if they haven't already. And they will be setting up a meeting to talk to you about your projects. They're going to ask you to list all of your projects, all of your damages. And at that point, we will start generating your projects and putting those together. And we put those in a form of a disaster survey report, or it'll be referred to as a DSR. And that's the mechanism that we use to reimburse you for your losses. Again, we're going to be dealing with debris removal here. I believe there was some roads that were damaged, some other things that I've seen from the initial damage estimate that was done with our team and your team out there in the field. In a nutshell, that's about it. I mean, the guidelines and things that we use are pretty typical, similar to what FEMA does, that we go by. So if you've been through the FEMA events before in the past, you kind of have an idea of what some of these policies are and things. And we kind of follow a lot of those same things, but we do have some flexibility, a lot more flexibility actually, that we can do because it is our program. So with that, any questions? Happy to answer.
Thank you, Robbie. I see, Supervisor, there might be a couple of questions coming through. I don't know if you want us to answer them now or at a later date and time, but we are all three available to answer questions when it's appropriate.
Okay, Justin, do you want to cover the questions? And just one point of information on the ROEs, that deadline has been extended, I believe, to February 15th.
That is
so
correct.
You still have time to get your ROEs in. And also, I don't know if Lewis wants to add anything along the way here, but he's on our panel today from Environmental Health. But right now, I'll turn it over to Justin and the questions.
Great, thank you. First question, can you please clarify what is being covered through the CDA, which we kind of just went into, but maybe we can repeat the coverage.
Yeah, so now this would be for public infrastructure. So we're talking about damages that the county sustained. Obviously, with this event, the county has taken responsibility for the debris removals, which is category A, which in that is as a state, made the request to the state to do that, to get into that program. So we will be, sending our crews out there, our teams to do that work. But category A, which is debris removal, category B, which is emergency protective measures. So all of your response costs while the fire was going on, all of your response costs, you opened up an EOC, whatever you may have done up there in your response cost. If there's any mutual aid that was involved that you had to reach out for help, all of those costs also can be claimed. Our person in the field, when they are working with you on your projects, they will explain all of that to you too, again, in the kickoff meeting, once they schedule that with you. So that's emergency work. So then we've got permanent work, which is category C through G. And that has to do with any of your infrastructure. If you had roads, I think was there water tanks or something that may have been damaged there? I thought I've seen, or unless I'm getting that confused with another fire we're working with. But anything, again, roads, buildings, anything that's county property that was damaged that needs to be replaced or repaired. Those are all covered with this event.
In this,
I'm sorry, and to reiterate, for the community members, the disaster survivors, we will be working the same type of program for the debris removal for all of our homeowners, that they will have the same type of eligibility, where we only collect the insurance that they may have. If they're underinsured, they're still eligible for the program. Underinsured and not insured, they're still eligible to participate in the program at no direct cost.
Great, thank you. Next question, how do I verify if you have my ROE?
That's a great question. So you should be able to call the county whether or not they have actually received and processed the right of entry form. There is actually also a public dashboard that should be live, that will have that information, and we'll make sure that that Mono County has it in order to get it out on their website or social media, so that homeowners can actually go to this website, input their address, and check to see where they are in the process. Their address will actually change colors depending on where they are in the process. So once we receive their ROE is one color, once we start site assessments, it's another color. And as they move down the line of the process, we'll be able to tell. So we'll make sure we get that information, that public dashboard web link out to everyone, so that they can feel free to go on and check for themselves.
That'd be great, Dana. Thank you. And we're going to be including that on our portal page as well. So we're going to be linking to it once we have that live. Also, if you, last week we did send an email, I believe it was on Friday, to those property owners that we had not received a form from yet. So if you didn't get an email from us last week, chances are your form has been received.
And Justin, can you share the Mountain View Fire email address? If they want to email it, we can look up a specific one, because some of them haven't been uploaded to the state yet.
Yep, I will put that in the chat.
Great, thanks.
There's no other open questions at this time.
So if somebody wanted to call for some reassurance tomorrow to the county, who would they call at the county to check on their ROE status?
They could call me, Louis Molina. My number is at the top of that ROE. You can call me, you can email me. I may not personally know whether or not we've received one, but I can be the clearinghouse and check with Mary and with Stephanie Trujillo, who are handling the actual submittals and getting them uploaded. So between the three of us, we can see if we have one. If not, then we'll get back to you and let you know that we haven't received it. If there's just questions generally about ROEs, things about your property, feel free to contact me directly. I can talk to you about those kinds of things.
Okay, thank you very much. I know a question, a concern on everybody's mind, all of the community, is how long, given that we will have, the ground clear of snow, once that happens and the operation begins, how long should they expect phase 2 to take in the Antelope Valley?
It's a really good question. It kind of depends on a lot of mitigating factors. Depending on the size of a property, We'll determine whether or not we can remove debris within 1 day or 3 days, or sometimes 7 to 10 days, depending on how much debris needs to be removed. As far as the operation as a whole, we are expecting to complete all operations, weather pending, by May 1st.
Okay, that's good to know. Are there other questions at this point in time? Any on Facebook or anybody in the Q&A?
No, there's no open questions on Facebook and none in the Zoom.
There were a couple in the Q&A that I answered directly, but they do bear repeating to the group. One of the questions was asking about how an insured claimant would be able to get a loan through SBA. We can only help with the uninsured or underinsured portion of your claim. And so say you had $100,000 of insurance and you had $200,000 worth of damage, then we could, in theory, make a loan for that other $100,000. And then another one was if you can use the money to rebuild. If you lost structures because of the fire, if you had any outbuildings that you use for your business especially, then we can help with that. Now, we can only help with residential or business property. We can't help with farms. And unfortunately, you would probably need to contact USDA to see if they have any programs available for you. Now, we can help with agricultural cooperatives, both for physical and economic damage to the cooperative, because their farmers are not running right now. So that's the answers to those two questions.
So let me give a scenario, Cynthia, because I think this is what's on folks' minds. Some of them they want to rebuild, and they aren't sure what that cost of rebuilding is yet, because they haven't been able to get a contractor to come in, give an estimate. They're not sure what the impact to their insurance claim is from the debris removal and whatever stage they're in. So is the deadline truly the end of March to apply for an SBA loan? I mean, many of these folks may not have even seen their back to the bare property to get a legitimate estimate for a rebuild by the.
I suggest that people go ahead and apply. We'll work with your insurance carriers and make sure that we don't duplicate any other coverage you might have, either through the state or through the county. But get the application in. If you absolutely cannot apply by the deadline, then it's important that you go ahead and within a few days of the deadline, send in a note explaining why you haven't been able to apply yet, and ask for an extension to the application period. And that can be sent to disaster customer service at sba.gov. And if you need to get further instructions, you can contact our customer service line at 800-659-2955. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you for that. I think the question in the queue, if insured, will SBA approve a loan? I think that was answered with that last exchange. Are there other topics, Justin Nalder, that you feel that could be covered, or that you think people in the community may have been interested in hearing about tonight? I know you covered all of the hot topics, but you want to take it?
Sure. So a couple of other items that have come up recently. As the storm came in on Wednesday, continued to fly Thursday, Friday, there were some calls about whether or not the landfill transfer station was going to be open and operable. We had our roads crew reprioritize the road into the transfer station, and I believe that was finished on Saturday. Unfortunately, our gate attendant couldn't get out of his driveway, so we should be back on schedule for Wednesday. Hopefully, it didn't cause too much of an issue for those of you who build up and accumulate trash very quickly. Along the same lines, we do have several pieces of infrastructure that are on order or under repair, and we're moving as quick as we can to get that back in order, to get the scale back in order so that we can switch back from a volume fee schedule to a weight fee schedule, which is what you're all accustomed to. So we're looking into next month and perhaps the month after, depending on how long it takes to get some of these items. And it won't slow us down if they're phased. Like, for example, we had a hazardous waste shed that was compromised. If we get that in the next 2 to 3 months, that's not going to slow down our transition. So we're working on those items. There were other questions about, where folks might be able to get information. And I think between these workshops and our websites and the handouts that we've provided at the general store, as well as with some of the county folks at their offices, hopefully we're getting the message out appropriately. I did have a call as to whether or not we could use the Code Red system for other incidents, even non-related to Mountain View Fire. That's the sheriff's purview, and I believe they are using that as necessary, especially for evacuation purposes. And I think that might be the only other updates I have at this point.
Supervisor Peters, I do have a couple things I wanted to bring up. One of them was, I guess there have been some questions about people reoccupying their property with the temporary accessory dwelling units and RVs. So I just wanted to make it clear that is a process that they can go through. They can get approval. They do need to go through the planning department and get that approval. I believe it's a director's review, or at least something similar to that, to get that approval. And really, they're just looking at the main things is the site location, where these people want to be able to set up an RV or a TED, just to make sure that it's a safe distance from the debris removal location, both so that the contractors can do their work and so that the folks on site, if they are on site, are not in any kind of hazard with any dust or any other construction activities going on. So just to reiterate, they can go through the planning department, then that will circle back through the environmental health. We can work with the applicant to make sure that they that the location they want to put an RV or an accessory dwelling unit is appropriate. So I just wanted to get that out there. And then there was actually a question I wanted to throw out as well. Someone had contacted me regarding vehicles left on the property. Is there anything that Cal OES or Cal Recycle, is there a receipt or anything that they get for DMV purposes? And I don't know how often this is necessary, but for this person who was asking, they were concerned that in order for registration or to show that the vehicle's been destroyed, do they get any kind of receipt for that for vehicles?
So to answer that homeowner's question, when a car is destroyed on a property, we actually do work with DMV and local sheriff or the CHP to actually have that vehicle registered so that they don't have to worry about like the registration. So that part is actually taken care of, and we remove that as part of the debris removal. So that aspect of their vehicle is actually taken care of. There is a process that is embedded within debris removal in order to take care of. So I don't know if they'll actually receive a piece of paper, but it is processed through the DMV so that the DMV is aware that that vehicle has been destroyed and is no longer operable.
Great, thank you. I think that's what he needed.
Okay.
Promoted April, Supervisor Peters, I promoted April Saul to panelist. She
Okay, great.
wanted to chime in, I believe.
Yeah, just a quick clarification on the temporary emergency dwelling or TED approval for an RV on site. It does not require a direct review permit if you were a victim of the Mountain View fire. That was waived in the Board of Supervisor resolution, but it does still require planning department approval. And so we'll need, an address and APN to verify specific information about your parcel and about the structure, et cetera. So just wanted to clarify that. The Board of Supervisors did try and waive fees and all of the extra permits, but we still do need that on-site review and approval. And you can contact me for that. I'll put my address in the chat.
Okay, thank you very much, April. And just for everyone's information, this week, as happens during the first week of each month, usually, depending on where that first day of the month falls within the week, but this week there will be a Northern Mono Chamber of Commerce meeting tomorrow evening. And on Thursday, there will be the Antelope Valley RPAC meeting, which both will have some kind of fire update and are both public meetings. You're welcome to attend. And of course, our Board of Supervisors meeting tomorrow morning will have a Mountain View fire update, another opportunity to engage with questions or concerns. And as always, our county staff, as well as our state agency partners, are available through the various means of communication to answer questions, any day, during their normal business hours, and they will also respond back to you. If anybody has a topic that they would like to see covered, either internally by Mono County or with external resources, please email me, email Justin Nalder, Justin Caparuso, the CAO, Louis Molina, Mary Boer, any of us. Let us know, call, because we want to bring the information to you guys and use our time wisely. And as everyone's time is, very precious and valuable, we want to give the opportunity to get the most bang for the buck when we have you with us. It's likely that our next community meeting would be in 2 weeks. We have a little bit, of a challenge this week. Everybody's still trying to shovel out and deal with the snow impacts. But as far as our schedule of meetings, it's flexible, and we want to provide meaningful and valuable information for this ongoing recovery. One of the original, purpose for creating this forum, this group meeting, community meeting, was to also provide support for the victims of the Mountain View fire and the community with interaction with other fire survivors, other folks from other communities, community leaders, fire victims themselves. We've had many volunteer to be part of this. So we do want to encourage folks to engage with one of us to let us know if that is something that you feel is how you want to see this meeting evolve. Once we get a little bit kicked more into gear with the recovery, the debris removal, there still will be the ongoing process of the recovery itself. Individually, we can reach out, or you guys can reach out, and we can discuss individual needs. We can do it through groups. We can try to just support you guys the best we can along the way. And with that, I don't know if there are any other questions or anything in the chat, but if not, if our CAO has anything to add or anybody else, just raise your hand. You want to talk about any other Mountain View fire related topics?
If I could just quickly, Supervisor Peters, just to let folks know that I've received 94 of the ROEs. They've all been signed by the CAO, so they are well through the process. And anything that comes in, as soon as it's brought to my attention, I've been approving those. Ms. Harrison, if you're still on the line, if you are interested in the property at 704 East Side Lane, I'm happy to advise you that I have signed off on that one also. So it's been received and it's moving through the process. Thank you, Supervisor.
Okay, thank you very much. And one of the questions regarding vehicles, the specific question about farm equipment, backhoes, trailers, are all of those vehicles treated as equally as long as they have been a registered vehicle with DMV? Or what if there's equipment that is just not even in the system, not registered? How is that handled?
All fire debris is considered fire debris. So if that equipment is basically been, burned beyond operability, then we will remove it as part of fire debris. If it's not registered with the DMV, we don't need to process it with the DMV. We'll take pictures of the site of what we're doing prior to when we remove debris. But I don't know that they need. I'll have to take a look at what I'm reading the question about salvaging of titles. So we don't know what the process is for that, but we can work with the individual homeowners on what they may need in order for them to process their insurance.
And also for SBA's loans, if you lost a vehicle, your personal vehicle or a business vehicle that is non-farm, then we can help with that. But they had to have been legally on the road the day prior to the fire. So it had to have been registered and carried insurance. It doesn't have to be full coverage insurance. It could be liability only, and we can help you out with replacing those vehicles. And so that's something you would ask your SBA loan processor about.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I don't see any other questions. We have a lot of experts here on our panel and also in the attendee room from the county. So if there's no more questions, and I think we'll adjourn this meeting at a little bit early. Thank you all for attending, and we'll look forward to seeing you. Oh, I saw something pop up.
Yeah, you can go ahead and share SBA's information anywhere you'd like to. We'd be happy to have that.
Okay, great. Maybe somebody's typing in. Okay, we can give it a few more seconds here. Dina, go ahead.
And I also wanted to make mention that we did provide the link to the dashboard to Justin. So hopefully that will be available for everyone to be able to go on and see where they are in the process of their ROVs shortly, basically on the internet, and they can track that progress shortly.
Okay. Well, with that, I think that this is it's been very productive, and we will look forward to working with all of our agency partners. And please, at any time, any of you in the community that have, new emerging needs or concerns or questions, please reach out to us. That's what we're here for. We're here to support the recovery of the Mountain View Fire. So with that, I will say thank you and have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Here, stay warm.
Thank you.
Thank you.